I was in my hotel room the other day and got this immediate prompting that I needed to order my Uber for the airport straight away. I pushed the button and saw it was only 2 minutes away, so I grabbed my bag, rushed down to reception, and as I was handing my key card in, the Uber driver was calling me to let me know he was outside. I got into the Uber and the guy was talking to me about how he had ended up in Australia and just his plans of how he had got there. And he talked for quite a while. He was a very talkative guy, probably about 10 minutes of him talking. And he was sharing with me about how he had been in Imam and then how he had moved back to Sydney and he was looking at a different career path teaching. And something struck me as he was talking because he had made a lot of decisions and it seemed like there was lots of choices that he needed to make in his life. So I asked him this question: do you ever ask God for guidance? He said to me, no, I don't. I'm not at that level to be able to ask God. And I just found myself putting my hand up to my chest and just saying, I couldn't handle not hearing from God. I hear from him every day. And I proceeded to then carry on to talk to him a little bit about that. It was obvious that he was wanting to know a bit more. As soon as I said that I couldn't handle not hearing from God, he sort of turned and looked at me, and I knew I had his attention. Now, it was a conversation back and forth, and I was able to explain to him my kind of relationship that I have with God. And I said, I write down in a journal every single day what God's spoken to me, and just a few words that he speaks. It's not like I write down everything he says to me throughout the day. If I did, my journal would be full. But I like to always ask him every day what he has to say to me. And it really intrigued this guy. He was he actually turned to me at one point and said, I'm just really grateful that you've shared this with me, and thank you, you've given me something to think about. Now, this was someone that's been an imam, that's in a Muslim mosque for 4 years, wanting to know from me about my relationship with Jesus, just because I made it relevant to the story that we were talking about, and I also knew that God had set this up. Now, I was able to talk to this guy further about what a relationship with God is like, because he thought about God as being a distant God. So I said to him, do you have sons or do you have children? Reason why I say sons is because he said to me, yeah, I've got 2 of them. I said, do you play with your sons? Do you tickle them? Do you have fun with them? Like, do they sit on your knee? Do they talk to you? And he's like, yeah. I mean, obviously I gave him some time to answer in between, but I said, that's the kind of relationship that God wants to have with you. You know, you talk about that God, well, you need to be at a certain level with God to be able to speak to God, but God wants you to talk to him right from the beginning, just like a little child. It was a really special time to be able to talk to this guy, and then I waved goodbye as I left. Now, he didn't give his life to Jesus, or we didn't pray, but we had this conversation that I think he'll remember for a while. And sometimes it's just that little touch. I was able to share with him what it meant to follow Jesus. I was able to share with him what Jesus did for him on the cross. And I'm able to leave him with some tools of what to do to get a little bit closer to Jesus. Perhaps there's something that God's asking you to do today. Perhaps there's just that little prompting where you think, I need to go and do that. How about you go, give it a try, open your mouth.